I torched my childhood home with a single match, watching the flames lick the siding like old grudges finally set free. Because family isn't blood, it's the blade they twist when you least expect it. My brother, the golden boy, had already stolen my fiancé, my savings, and now he wanted the roof over my head, the one I'd clawed my way into owning after they left me to rot in foster care for a mistake that wasn't mine. And as the sirens wailed in the distance, I whispered to the ashes, "This is just the appetizer, because revenge isn't served cold, it's baked into the bones of every lie they ever told." The rain hammered the windshield like it was trying to wash away the bullshit I'd just heard. But nothing could scrub clean the poison my parents had spewed over that Zoom call from their Florida condo. I was parked outside my lawyer's office in downtown Seattle, the kind of gray November afternoon where the clouds hung low enough to choke you. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles bleached white, replaying Mom's voice. "Kylie, honey, it's only fair. Your brother needs a fresh start. You've always been so independent. Independent. That's code for the family screw-up who doesn't owe us a goddamn thing." I slammed the car door and stormed into Harlan and Associates, my boots splashing through puddles that mirrored the storm in my gut. Harlan, tall, silver-haired, with a southern drawl that made him sound like he'd stepped out of a John Grisham novel, was waiting in his corner office, nursing a bourbon neat even though it was barely 4 p.m. He didn't look up from his desk until I dropped into the leather chair across from him, my laptop still open to that godforsaken email chain. "Read it," I said, shoving the screen toward him. The subject line screamed, "Family Matter, Transfer of Property to Ethan." Attached was the deed to my craftsman bungalow in Capitol Hill, the one I'd bought with my own blood, sweat, and overtime from slinging lattes and coding freelance gigs while they partied in retirement. They'd ordered me to sign it over. Ordered. Like I was still the 16-year-old they'd dumped at the county office because it was best for everyone. Harlan scanned the email, his wire-rimmed glasses slipping down his nose. Then, out of nowhere, he let out a bark of laughter, deep, rolling, like thunder cracking over the Olympics. It wasn't polite. It was the laugh of a man who'd seen too many snakes in silk ties and knew exactly where to step. "Well, I'll be damned," he drawled, leaning back. "Your folks got balls bigger than a longhorn steer. They think they can waltz in after a decade of radio silence and demand your house? On what grounds? 'Cause you share DNA." I snorted, but it came out more like a sob. "Ethan's grounds. Apparently. He's going through a rough patch. Divorced again. Jobless. Kid on the way from some fling. And me? I'm the stable one. The one who doesn't need it as much. Need it." That house was my fortress. The first place I'd ever called mine without asterisks. 2 bedrooms, creaky oak floors, a backyard where I'd planted tulips that actually bloomed. I'd poured every dime from my tech startup scraps into it, back when I thought building something lasting might fill the hole they'd carved out of me. Harlan's laugh faded into a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Darlin', this ain't a request, it's a shakedown. But lucky for you, I'm the wrong lawyer to bluff." He tapped the desk, pulling up my file on his tablet. "Let's dissect this pig in the poke. First off, that house is in your name sole, paid for with your loans, your sweat equity. No marital assets. No cosigners. They got zilch. But they're my parents," I muttered, hating how small it sounded. In America, family was supposed to be the safety net, not the noose. We'd grown up in that McMansion in Bellevue, back when Dad was climbing the ladder at Boeing and Mom hosted Junior League brunches. Ethan was the heir apparent, varsity quarterback. Straight A's. The son who made them beam at barbecues. I was the glitch, the artsy kid with tattoos and opinions. The one who questioned why we donated to church while ignoring the homeless vets on the corner. Then came the mistake. At 15, I got pregnant, scared shitless, but determined. It was Ethan's.
Yeah.
My own brother. A drunken fumbling at a family lake house party. The kind of secret that festers like mold in the walls. He denied it. Of course, said I was lying for attention. They believed him. Tested the DNA in secret. Confirmed it. Then buried the results deeper than Jimmy Hoffa. We can't have scandal, Mom whispered as they packed my bags. Ethan's future. Boeing scholarship. Ivy League. Yours? You'll figure it out. They framed it as my wild phase, paid off the clinic to handle it quietly, and shipped me to foster care in Tacoma. I miscarried alone in a group home bed, bleeding out the only piece of family that might have been mine. I never told a soul. Carried that ghost like a tattoo under my skin. Built my life from scratch, community college on grants. A coding boot camp that landed me at Amazon as a mid-level dev, then branching out to my own app for freelance writers. The house, my anchor. And now, they wanted it for him. The same him who'd texted me last month. Hey sis. Long time. Need a place to crash? Dad says you owe us. Harlan's voice snapped me back. Oh, bull feathers. But let's play their game. He fired off an email from his account. CCNG me and their lawyer, a sleazy firm in Orlando specializing in elder law scams. The response? A curt demand for a family meeting. Virtual. Tomorrow. Wear your war paint, Harlan said, clapping my shoulder. And remember, in this country, blood don't buy you squat without a fight. That night, I couldn't sleep. Paced my living room, the one with the exposed brick I'd painted myself, staring at the family portrait on the mantel, the last one before the fall. Us four, smiling on a Hawaiian vacation. Ethan's arms slung around me like we were just kids. Lies layered thicker than fondant on a wedding cake. By dawn, I drafted my own list. Every unpaid therapy bill from the foster years. Every holiday card with a check that bounced. Every independent birthday where I ate ramen alone. Revenge wasn't a word I threw around lightly, but it hummed in my veins like cheap whiskey. The Zoom flickered to life at noon. My parents' faces pixelated against a backdrop of palm trees and golf greens.
Dad.
Grayer, but still barrel-chested, cleared his throat. Kylie, thanks for joining. This is awkward. But awkward, I cut in, my voice steady as Seattle fog. Harlan sat off camera, but I felt his presence like a loaded .45. You email me an ultimatum to deed over my home, my only asset, and call it awkward? Mom's Botox smile twitched. Sweetie, it's for family. Ethan's in a bind. His ex is taking him to the cleaners. And with the baby. She trailed off, dabbing her eye with a silk handkerchief. Crocodile tears. Straight out of a soap opera. Ethan appeared in a split screen, looking every bit the hungover frat boy at 35. Stubble. Bloodshot eyes. A Broncos tee stretched over his beer gut.
Small. Kai.
It's not forever. I'll pay rent or whatever.
Rent.
From the brother who'd once keyed my first car for borrowing his mixtape. Harlan leaned in then, his face filling half my screen. Mr. And Mrs. Harlow. Mr. Harlow Jr., good afternoon. Harlan Whitaker, counsel for MS. Kylie Harlow. Let's cut the palaver. This request is baseless. Title's clear. No liens, no trusts. You got no claim. Dad's jowls reddened. She's our daughter. We raised her. Raised? Harlan's laugh echoed again, tinny through the speakers. Y'all raised a mirage. Dropped her like a hot potato at 16. Left her to the wolves. Now you circle back for scraps? Son. In Washington State, abandonment's a hell of a defense. The line went silent, save for Ethan's heavy breathing. Mom recovered first. This is blackmail. We gave her everything. Everything. I exploded. The hook ripping free. You gave me a bus ticket and a lie. That wild phase. It was your son's baby. You made me abort in secret. I carried your shame so Ethan could play college ball. The words hung there. A grenade with the pin pulled. I'd never said it aloud.
Not to them.
But Harlan had prepped me. Truth as the sharpest blade. Ethan's face drained of color. What the fuck? Kylie? That's ancient history. You were asking for. Shut your mouth, Harlan snapped, his drawl gone steel. Or I'll have a recorder of this call in discovery for the civil suit MS. Harlow's contemplating. Defamation. Emotional distress, the works. Dad pounded his desk. The condo vase rattling. Suit? Over a house? You're unhinged. Girl. Unhinged. I leaned into the camera, my reflection fierce in the black void of the screen. You ordered me to give up my life once. Not again. I hit end call, the screen fracturing into digital confetti. Harlan's voice crackled through my phone seconds later. That was poetry, darlin'. But they ain't done. Expect the guilt trip next, lawyers. Tears. Maybe a PI digging dirt. Let them dig. My dirt was their mirror. The backlash hit like a Puget Sound squall, swift, soaking, and impossible to outrun. By evening, my inbox was a war zone. Voicemails from mom sobbing about ingratitude, texts from distant cousins I'd ghosted years ago preaching family first, and an email from Ethan's ex, Tara, spilling tea I'd never asked for. Your bro's a deadbeat. Kylie owes me $20K in child support. If he's gunning for your pad, watch your back. He's got a temper like a cornered rattler. Temper. Understatement of the century. The lake house incident wasn't the first. There were bruises I'd hidden under hoodies. Excuses I'd fed teachers about clumsy falls. But blood ties blind you. Or so they say. I poured a glass of Pinot from the bottle I'd stashed for bad days, today qualified as apocalypse level, and scrolled through old photos on my phone. Me and Ethan at 6, building sandcastles on Alki Beach. Our parents cheering from striped towels. Idyllic Pacific Northwest shit. Evergreens framing the Olympics. Fairies cutting wakes like silver knives. But cracks spiderwebbed even then, Ethan hogging the waves. Me trailing like an afterthought. By high school, he'd evolved into the charmer who ghosted girls after prom, while I buried myself in sketchbooks and Kerouac, dreaming of hitchhiking east to escape the Harlow haze. Harlan called at dusk, his voice gravel over ice. Got a prelim from their counsel, threatening to contest the deed on undue influence grounds. Claim you manipulated M into the abandonment. Laughable. But it'll drag. Drag how? I paced the kitchen. The one with the farmhouse sink I'd installed myself after a bonus from debugging some fintech nightmare. Discovery. They'll subpoena records, foster files, Clinic docs.
Your.
Situation might surface. He paused. Respectful. You ready for that smoke? The abortion. The DNA test they'd sealed like state secrets. I glimpsed the report once. Swiped from Dad's briefcase. 99.9% match. Ethan Harlow. Father unknown officially. They'd paid the lab tech $5,000 to fudge the chain of custody. I later learned from a whistleblower article on medical ethics. For his future. For the family name. Boeing doesn't hire scandals. I'm not hiding anymore, I said, though my stomach twisted like driftwood. But if they drag me, I drag 'em all. Full exposure. Harlan chuckled low. That's my girl. Meet me tomorrow. We'll draft the counter. And Kylie, get a security cam for that bungalow. Paranoia ain't pretty, but it's smart. He wasn't wrong. That night, headlights swept my driveway twice. Unmarked SUV. No plates visible. Coincidence? In Seattle. Maybe. In my world, a warning shot. Morning brought coffee black as my mood and a drive to Harlan's office through traffic that crawled like guilt. We hammered out the response, a cease and desist laced with barbs about fraud, perjury, the works. I signed it with a flourish, my pen digging into the paper like claws. Send it certified. And CC the family group chat, let 'em squirm in real time. By lunch, the fireworks erupted. Mom's reply all, how dare you? Kylie, after all we've sacrificed, Ethan was protecting you from ruin. Protecting. The word curdled. Then Ethan himself. Voice memo attached. You crazy bitch. Spilling that lie? I'll bury you in court. Dad's got connections. Judges owe him favors from the union days. Connections.
Ah.
Yes, the old boys club at Boeing, where Dad greased palms with scotch and stories of Vietnam. He'd retired a VP, golfing with senators, while Mom chaired galas for at-risk youth, irony thicker than Seattle fog. They'd built an empire on my erasure, and now the foundation cracked. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to the house, my house in Capitol Hill, the neighborhood pulsing with hipster energy, food trucks slinging poke bowls, baristas with man buns calling orders like poetry slams. Unlocked the door, the scent of fresh varnish and lavender hitting me like a hug. Upstairs, in the guest room Ethan eyed for his temporary crash pad, I started boxing his imagined life. Crib from IKEA, Broncos posters, a mini fridge for his PBRs. Symbolic, sure, but cathartic as hell. That's when the doorbell rang, sharp, insistent. Through the peephole, Tara, Ethan's ex, bundled in a rain slicker, her blonde hair plastered like wet corn silk. She clutched a toddler on her hip, the kid's eyes wide and wary. Kylie, it's me. We need to talk. I hesitated. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, but something in her defeat mirrored mine. Let her in. Offered tea from the kettle still warm. She slumped at my kitchen island. The boy, little Jax, gnawing a teething ring while eyeing my fern like it was a monster. He's escalating, she said without preamble, stirring sugar into her mug. After your call, he trashed our place, punched a hole in the drywall, screamed about ruining his life. Again. Her voice cracked. I left him last year for that shit. But now with the baby due, he's saying he'll fight for custody if I don't back his play on your house. Custody. The word landed like a sucker punch. I'd lost mine before it breathed. Courtesy of their protection. Why tell me? I asked, keeping my tone even, though my pulse thrummed.
She met my eyes.
Weary but steel-edged. Because you're not the villain he paints. And I found this. She slid a USB drive across the quartz. Hacked his cloud, old emails, texts. Proof of everything. The lake house. The payoff to the clinic. He bragged about it to his frat brothers. My fingers trembled as I pocketed it. Evidence. The kind that could torch their world. You risking a lot. Tara shrugged, hoisting jacks. Motherhood's a bitch. But it's clarifying. He doesn't change.
Kylie.
Never will. She paused at the door. Watch your six. He's not above dirty tricks. She ghosted into the rain, leaving echoes. I plugged in the drive that afternoon. Harlan on speaker. Files bloomed. Screenshots of Ethan's Venmo to the lab tech, $5K. Labeled family favor. Text to buddies. LOL. Sis tried to trap me. Parents handled it, abortion city. And the kicker, an email chain from last week. Dad to Ethan. Kylie's house is leverage. Threaten exposure of her instability. Foster records show suicide attempts. She'll fold. Suicide attempts?
Lies.
The foster scars were depression. Sure, nights curled fetal, whispering to the lost baby, but I'd fought through with journaling, not blades. They'd twisted my pain into ammo. Harlan whistled. This is dynamite.
Darlin.
Criminal, extortion.
Fraud.
We file injunction tomorrow, but as I hung up, doubt slithered in. Expose them. And the secret spiderwebbed public, headlines screaming incest scandal rocks Boeing dynasty. My name dragged through the tabloids. Job at risk. The app I'd bootstrapped tainted. Ethan's kid, innocent collateral, in the crossfire. Was revenge worth vaporizing the last threads of normalcy? That evening, I walked the blocks to California Anderson Park. The autumn leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones. Joggers in Lululemon zipped past, oblivious, a drag queen buskied Dylan on sax. Her voice husky over the traffic hum. America, the melting pot, where dreams curdled into nightmares. I thought of Mom's brunches, Dad's barbecues, facades hiding rot. Betrayal wasn't the act, it was the rewrite, convincing you were the monster. Back home, another shadow, a manila envelope on the porch. No stamp. Inside, photocopies of my foster psych evals. Highlighted with yellow marker, delusional tendencies. Familial resentment. A note in Ethan's scrawl. Sign the deed. Or this goes viral. Love.
Bro.
The line blurred then, victim to vigilante. I texted Harlan. Accelerate. We're going nuclear. The courtroom smelled like polished oak and stale coffee. The kind that lingered in King County Superior like a bad divorce decree. It was mid-December now. Holiday lights twinkling mockingly outside the windows. While inside, the air crackled with the tension of a family Thanksgiving gone feral. I'd traded my jeans for a tailored black pantsuit, Harlan's idea, armor for the soul, and sat ramrod straight beside him. My heart a jackhammer against my ribs. Across the aisle, my parents flanked Ethan like mismatched sentinels, Dad in an ill-fitting suit, tie askew, Mom clutching her pearls like a rosary, Ethan slouched, eyes darting like a cornered weasel. Judge Rivera, a no-nonsense Latina with salt and pepper hair and a gavel that cracked like lightning, called us to order. MS.
Harlow v.
Harlow et al. Injunction hearing on property transfer and related claims. Counsel? Harlan rose, smooth as bourbon. Your Honor, my client seeks to bar defendants from any contact or claim on her homestead. Evidence of harassment, extortion, objection. Their lawyer, a weasel-faced prick named Hargrove from the Orlando firm, leaped up. Slanderous. The Harlows seek equitable division of family assets. MS. Kylie Harlows. Instability renders her unfit. Unfit. I whispered to Harlan. Heat rising. He'd prepped me. Stay silent. Let the facts bite. But facts were family here. Twisted like pretzels at Pike Place. The judge silenced them with a glare. Evidence. Mr. Hargrove. Not fairy tales. What followed was a surgical strike. Harlan projected the USB files onto the screen, Venmo receipts glowing like neon indictments, text scrolling like a confessional feed. Gasps rippled through the gallery, a few reporters from the Seattle PI. Curiosity piqued by the Boeing angle. Mom whimpered, dabbing her eyes. Dad's face purpled like overripe plums.
Ethan?
He stared at his shoes, muttering curses. And this, Harlan continued, clicking to the DNA report, redacted for the kid's sake, but damning in implication, demonstrates a pattern of deception spanning decades. Defendants coerced MS. Harlow into silence, then abandonment, to preserve the family image.
Now.
They leveraged that trauma for gain. Hargrove floundered, objecting on irrelevance, but Rivera waved him off. Relevance? This reeks of fraud. Counsel. MS. Harlow. Approach. I did. Palms slick. Voice steady as I recounted the lake house, framed clinically. No histrionics, the foster exile. The buried truth. They made me the villain to save him. I finished, meeting Ethan's eyes for the first time. Hollow. They were. Not remorse, calculation. The judge's pen scratched notes. Recess. Full hearing next week. In the interim, no contact, no emails, no drive-bys. Violate and contempt awaits. We filed out into the marble lobby, the echo of heels like receding thunder. Harlan clapped my back. Nailed it. But they're cornered rats now. Expect fangs. He was right. That night, as twinkle lights festooned the neighborhood, my phone buzzed with a block number, Mom's voice.
Slurred on wine.
You ungrateful whore. We gave you life. How dare you destroy us? Ethan's suicidal over this.
Click.
Suicidal. Projection much? I blocked it. Poured eggnog spiked with rum, holiday tradition I'd invented solo, and scrolled job listings. Contingency, if the scandal stuck. Amazon might cut bait. My app, WordWeave, was gaining traction. Writers raving about its AI prompts, but one whiff of drama. And investors bolted. Dawn brought the twist. A knock, soft, hesitant. Through the peephole, Ethan. Alone. Hands shoved in hoodie pockets. Breath fogging the glass. Against Harlan's orders. I cracked the door.
What can I
Explain? His eyes blue like mine, but bloodshot, pleaded. Rain drizzled his hood, turning him boyish, vulnerable. The manipulator's mask. 5 minutes, I said, blocking the threshold. No invites inside. He shifted, glancing over his shoulder like a junkie scoping for cops. It wasn't. I didn't mean for the baby thing to go down like that.
Party.
Too much Jack, stupid kid shit. Parents flipped. Said it'd tank my ride to USC. I panicked. Lies layered fresh. But his voice cracked. They chose me 'cause I was the golden ticket. You were. Tougher. Could handle it.
Handle it.
Like I was the emotional dumpster. And now, you show up for my house. Not amends.
He winced.
Dad pushed. Said it was payback for the silence. Your silence kept me clean. But after court, I saw the files. The texts. I was an asshole.
Kai.
Still am. He pulled a crumpled envelope from his pocket. Checks. A wad of them. This is what I got left from the divorce.
For you. And I'm sorry.
For the kid. For everything. I stared at the cash, $5,000, maybe, stained and folded like dirty laundry. Apology or bribe. In America, where redemption arcs sold tickets. It blurred. Why now? 'Cause you're right. Blood's a chain, not a shield. And if you go public full bore, Jack's my boy, he'll grow up with the stain. He swallowed. Therapy. I'm starting. For real this time. The door creaked wider. Unbidden. Part of me, the sister buried under scar tissue, wanted to believe. Forgive. Move on. Hallmark ending. But the lawyer in my head, Harlan's echo, whispered, flip-flop. Test him.
Prove it, I said.
Drop the claim. Testify against them, the payoffs. The lies. Full truth. His jaw tightened, the weasel peeking. Seconds stretched like taffy. Then deal. He stepped back. Rain sheeting off him. Merry Christmas, sis. He vanished into the storm, leaving the envelope like a white flag. I shut the door, leaned against it, the weight crashing. Was this the twist? Redemption's hook? Or another reel-in? Harlan's take. Next morning over Zoom. Smart play. If he bails, perjury's on him. But Kylie. You buying the sob story? Half, I admitted, staring at the checks I'd deposited digitally. Beer money for my fortress. Enough to pause the bomb. The full hearing loomed like a guillotine. Depositions trickled in, Tara corroborating the abuse. A former Boeing exec spilling on Dad's favors that skirted ethics. Mom cracked in hers. Tearful admissions of pressure from your father, but no real contrition. Dad stonewalled, invoking the fifth like a mobster. Christmas Eve. I strung lights alone, multicolored LEDs draping the mantel, casting rainbows on the portrait I'd smashed, shards swept but echoes lingering. Eggnog 2. Rum 3. A text from Ethan. Therapist appointment tomorrow. Deed's yours, lawyer notified.
Peace, peace.
A foreign word. But as midnight tolled, church bells pealing from St. Mark's. I replied, maybe. One step. New Year's brought the hammer. Court reconvened. Gallery swelled, reporters sniffing blood. Ethan took the stand first. Harlan's curveball, our star witness. He owned it all, the fling, the fear, the cover-up. I let them scapegoat her, he said, voice raw. My shame. My mess. Mom gasped, Dad seethed. Hargrove squawked objections. But Rivera let it roll. Then the flip, Dad's turn. Rising like Lazarus, he spun a tale of tough love. Kylie was spiraling, drugs.
Boys.
We saved her from jail.
Lies.
Venomous. But his eyes, desperate, locked on mine. Family protects its own. Protected. The word ignited the climax. I rose unbidden. Harlan hissing my name. Protected? You erased me. For his scholarship. Your reputation. I bore the crime. Your son's rape. Your cover-up, and you call it love. The courtroom froze. Rape. I'd skirted it before. But here, under fluorescence, it detonated. Reporters scribbled. Mom fainted into Hargrove's arms. Ethan buried his face. Dad deflated. A balloon pricked. Rivera banged her gavel. Order. MS. Harlow.
Sit. But.
Noted. She eyed the defendants. This court's seen greed. But this? Recess. Verdicts pending.
Outside.
Chaos. Flashes popping. Mics thrusting. MS. Harlow. Incest allegations comment. I shoved through. Harlan shielding. Into the rain-lashed parking lot. You split the atom, he said, lighting a rare smoke. Polarization achieved. Half the world's hailing you a survivor, the other half crucifying you for airing laundry. He was right. Social media erupted. Harlow scandal trending. Feminists rallying. Tradcons decrying family destruction. My inbox. Death threats from dad's union buddies. Fan mail from abuse survivors. Wordweave downloads spiked. Ironic silver lining. The verdict dropped a week later. Injunction granted. House mine. Countersuit greenlit for damages. But the twist, the debater's delight, came in mediation.
Dad.
Broken. Offered a settlement. Full inheritance share. Therapy fund for all parties, and a public apology in the PI. In exchange, drop the rape charge, pursue civil. Not criminal. For healing, he pleaded via video. Eyes wet. Ethan backed it. Jack's on his lap now, chubby fists waving. Tara nodded from off-screen. Mum? Silent. A ghost in pearls. Harlan advised caution. Criminal sticks the knife, civil twists it. But as I stared at the proposal, the polarity hit. Prosecute. And I avenged the girl in foster care. But chain the boy to infamy.
Settle.
And I bought silence, complicity in their soft landing. I chose the gray. Signed the papers on a February morn. Snow dusting the sound like forgotten confetti. House secure. Checks cashed, 50 grand toward a down payment on peace. Dad's apology ran. We failed our daughter. Regret eternal. Hollow words. But they stung them public. Ethan moved to Spokane distance healing. He claimed, co-parenting with Tara. Therapy logs shared monthly. We texted sparingly. Jack said Andy. I replied with emojis. Testing waters. As spring thawed the evergreens, I planted new tulips. Their bulbs pushing through mud like stubborn hope. Revenge? It tasted bittersweet, ashes and nectar. No tidy bows, I won the house. But the family fractured. Mirrors of my scars. Readers, hell. Even I debate. Justice or vendetta. Hero or harpy. In the end, America's promise. You rebuild from ruins. One controversial brick at a time. And damn if it doesn't make a hell of a story.